Welcome back! For this first tutorial of 2022, I will take a closer look on the finger motion component. For starters, let's find out what the finger motion component is for. In short, it implements an additional select method in VR that does not depend on the laser. As you can see in this example, the finger motion component allows the player to select an actor by tipping at it with the outstretched finger of the hand motion controller. This has nothing to do with hand tracking, and for the capture I showed, I held the real-life controllers in my hands. It also is a feature that only works on the hand motion controller and cannot be implemented on the laser motion controller. Intrigued? Then let me show you how to set up this select method, starting on this actor. I already prepared most of the logic, so we only need to add the interaction component. This has to be a select component, since it's a select interaction we want to set up. We can choose any of the three select components that are provided by the framework, but for this example, I think the comp select com will be the most useful. You can set up the component as normal. The only thing you need to observe is to add the finger as supported select source here. It's not a default. This array here determines which of the interactions are accepted by the select component. Screen works in desktop mode only, so it does not concern us. Laser refers to the laser of the motion controller in VR. We don't want that to interfere with our finger select, so let's remove it and just have finger select in VR. Next, let's have a look at the motion controller. First, observe that the finger motion component can only be used on the hand motion controller. It is placed right at the tip of the index finger of the hand mesh, with its forward direction parallel to the direction of the index finger points to. The latter is very important since the finger motion component toggles a select only if its forward direction is parallel to the direction in which the motion controller is moved. Let's have a closer look at the motion component to understand that. The main logic of the finger motion component is here in the event tick. It calls this function which monitors the actor location, then creates a vector pointing from the last known location to the current location. And lastly, checks if this vector aligns at least 80% with the forward vector of the motion component. If that is the case, the motion component toggles a select. If it isn't, and in any case, it sets the current location as last location for the next check. Let's turn on the debug features of the finger motion component to have a closer look at them. For that, we need to check the debug trace select boolean here. And additionally, let's ensure the forward vector of the motion component is visible in game. This might look a bit messy, but debugging usually is. First, observe the red trace. This is the finger component tracing for something to select. Now, when I move the finger to the actor, we get a hit, highlighting kicks in, and the select is toggled. Then it also works for widgets. As you can see, this select interaction is a bit more difficult to control than a simple laser select. You can make the finger select a bit more or less forgiving by adjusting the value used for comparison here. Since the dot product of two parallel vectors is 1, the closer this value gets to 1, the less forgiving the finger select will be, and the closer it gets to 0, the more forgiving it will be. Apart from that, a lot of the magic is in the correct positioning of the finger motion component. It's very important to have it exactly at the tip and not even slightly inside the hand mesh, because then the trace for something to select will mostly hit the mesh of the controller, and it gets almost impossible to toggle the select. This was a problem with some of our hand motion controllers, especially in the Aquos extension and possibly also in the smartwatch utility. So if you want to use one of those controllers, make sure you reposition the finger motion component before you start testing. So before I sign off, let me give you an overview of the possibilities the Advanced Framework provides to implement an interaction apart from grab and latch that uses the hand motion controller directly. Let's start with hand tracking. As we can see from Oculus Quest menus and so on, hand tracking is by now viable as a form of input. However, it needs special attention to set up and is not available for all HMDs currently. Finger select is the closest the advanced framework has to hand tracking without the need for elaborate setup and suitable HMDs. It needs, however, as you have seen, a lot of testing to work reliably, especially on widgets. If you want a more robust alternative, you can think of a combination of overlap drag component and drag component. Here, the complete motion controller is set as actor type to allow, and the player has no need to follow a predetermined hand pose or tipping direction to toggle the interaction. The downside of this implementation is that it gets difficult to handle for small meshes and has no support for interaction with widgets. So you see, the Advanced Framework Core provides you with several possibilities to implement laser-independent select interactions in VR, and I hope this video will enable you to choose the one that fits your project best. With that, I will sign off. See you soon. Bye bye.